Hey guys, Rob here with McDojoLife, and today we're going to be breaking down someone's speech in defense of a McDojo or McDojos in general. So let's watch and then let's break it down.
One of the things that we love to do as martial artists is we love to look at what other martial artists are doing and go, well, that'll never work. That's just a McDojo. I have people call me a McDojo, and I'm thinking, how can that be? Because I know my stuff is great. I want to defend the idea of the McDojo. I may look at somebody going to the school down the street and learning a style that looks to me like they've got bad body mechanics and no understanding of what they're doing. If they do get in a fight, yeah, their technique might not work very good, but they're doing something. Because my teacher liked to push the boundaries of what we would consider possible and work on techniques that things like toate no waza, which is to strike without touching. This is an old thing. It's been around a long time, the use of no-touch technique. I mean, yeah, maybe we could only do it in the dojo or only do it with a cooperative partner, or it'll only work on some people and not on others, whatever. I'm Chris Thomas, and these are some reflections from the master class.
All right, so there is actually a ton to dissect here. If you listen to his rant, he has a lot of opinions on things, and I want to give my play-by-play as we listen to what he has to say. So let's just take it piece by piece into what he has to say in little sections, so that way we can kind of dissect the brainwashing that's going on here and his argument, because some of the things that he says I actually agree with. So let's watch.
One of the things that we love to do as martial artists is we love to look at what other martial artists are doing and go, well, that'll never work. That's just a McDojo. I have people call me a McDojo, and I'm thinking, how can that be? Because I know my stuff is great. I want to defend the idea of the McDojo.
He does say a couple things here that I do agree with. One, he says that, hey, you know, we as martial artists, we like to look down upon other martial arts that are not our own. Hey, I agree with that. A lot of people do that. But I think this all depends on what your definition of a McDojo is. Now, my definition is pretty clear. I have 5 rules of what a McDojo is. 1, no touch knockouts, which makes him a McDojo because they do practice that. George Dillman does practice that. He also even talks about it later on in his speech. 2, shady business practices, unsafe training conditions, and cult-like behavior, pedophiles, and lying about your belt rank or fight record. All of those things are a McDojo to me. Other than that, don't really care. So because of those particular 5, yes, you are a McDojo. You fall under the instructor, Master George Dillman, who believes that he can manipulate people with his chi and push and pull people with that kind of energy. You can't. It's a lie. It's a fallacy, and it only does work on your students. He will talk about that as we go. So let's check out some more of what he has to say here.
I may look at somebody going to the school down the street and learning a style that looks to me like they've got bad body mechanics and no understanding of what they're doing. If they do get in a fight, yeah, their technique might not work very good, but they're doing something.
Now, I agree with what he says here in part. You can watch his full video in the link I add in the description. What he's saying is something is better than nothing. The truth is that's not true. Something's better than nothing depends on what that something is you're trying to achieve. If that something you're trying to achieve is actual self-defense, teaching somebody techniques that won't actually help you in self-defense, not even 50% of the time against an unwilling opponent, is not teaching them self-defense. It's trying to brainwash them to try to see things your way. That's putting them in danger. If you're able to manipulate somebody into the point where they believe that they can move and push and pull people with their mind inside the studio, then what's going to happen is you fight how you train. You're going to automatically go back to those things. Now, a lot of Kyosho Jitsu practitioners say, well, Kyosho Jitsu is a supplemental art. What it is you learn other martial arts and you add that to your repertoire. Here's my problem with that particular argument. That argument is that you're accepting new students who have no martial arts training, period, and you're still belting them and still teaching them your art, even though you say that your art is only supplemental and only really helpful with another martial art attached to it. Quite ridiculous. Now, the next argument I have is that, or it's really an agreement, I guess you could say. The next problem I have in what he says isn't really a problem with what he says. It's just how he says it, is that, yeah, if somebody goes into martial arts to lose weight and that's their goal is just to lose weight and not learn self-defense, and they lose the weight, good. If they're trying to learn self-defense and lose weight and they expect self-defense to be a part of it, then that means you're misleading people and you're lying to them and you're putting them in danger. Not cool, man. Not cool at all. Let's continue down this path. see what else the dude has to say. Because to me, just snake oil. But let's listen.
Because my teacher liked to push the boundaries of what we would consider possible and work on techniques that things like toate nowaza, which is to strike without touching. This is an old thing. It's been around a long time, the use of no-touch technique. I mean, yeah, maybe we could only do it in the dojo or only do it with a cooperative partner, or it'll only work on some people and not on others.
Yes, it will only work on some people and not others because it's a lie. It's a fantasy world. And if you're going to LARP and you're going to dress up in karate outfits and you're going to pretend to be karate masters and you're going to pretend to manipulate people with chi, that's cool. I really don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to lie. There's religions all over the world that believe in some really hokey, crazy stuff. The problem is that you're calling it a martial art. You're selling it as self-defense. You're teaching people a martial art, martial of war, art, like expression, right? So, okay, just teach the art. Don't call it martial arts. Don't wear the belts. Don't pretend to be something that you're not, because what you're doing is you're conning people, and you're conning people, and it's not safe. You're giving them a false sense of security that is beyond what any other cult or religion has ever done that I've ever really seen. You're doing so because you're using martial arts as the rock that you're building this foundation on. Why not just not call it a martial art at all and just admit that George Dillman is off his rocker? Now, last little thing that he does say here wasn't on the clip that I showed you. So if you stuck around long enough, you get to see something that is on the other clip, the full one in the link description I add below. But this is kind of an important thing to take away from this. So let's listen.
But how do I know what's possible unless I push the boundaries of possibility? Unless there's somebody willing to explore the edges. I mean, the map only goes as far as someone has been willing to go.
So what he's saying here basically is that it's a good thing to explore and try different stuff. I agree wholeheartedly. What I don't agree with is the fact that what they have already done has already been explored. We already know you cannot push people with your mind. We already know you can't manipulate people by doing that. We already know that that doesn't work. As a matter of fact, it's been recorded countless times being debunked where it doesn't work on people. And if you really want to set a standard here and call it a martial art, I think that it should work at least 50% of the time. For instance, if you look at acrobatic kicking, right? Most people who do just acrobatic kicking don't really even call it martial arts. They call it tricking, is what they call it in the community, right? And some people do martial arts, and some people have never done martial arts. They're just learning it from the people who do it, but they don't try to ham it up and sell it with belt systems and things like that. You just get better at it and you enjoy it, and that's fine. But with this particular thing, this long con that's going on, I accept the challenge. I am willing and open to explore if this will work. And here's the experiment that I'm saying we should do. In a non-combative situation, will what you do, Mr. Chris Thomas, work against 10 different people? Now, we'll use the 10 as a scale of 1 to 100%. Now, on the first five people will be unexperienced, untrained, never taken martial arts a day in their life, right? And there'll be different sizes and weights and also sexes. We'll have males and females in there. And then the other 5 will have actual trained martial artists of different experience levels, different sizes and sexes, and we'll see if it works on them without them resisting, without them trying to stop you. Now, if you can get that to work on 50% of the people, that means you have a chance of getting at least 5 people who've never taken martial arts before. If you can move them with your mind, knock them out with your thoughts. We can even try other certain like small techniques like pressure points, like chopping somebody in the forearm or something to knock them out. I'm willing to experiment with this. Let's see what we can come up with. Let us come in, let's film it, and let's put it out there for the world so that way we can show the map that, as you say, the map that we're trying to set forward so that way we can all grow. Now, if not, what I'm going to have to assume is that what you were just saying is a load of dog crap, and you really don't want to experiment with this. What you really want to do is you want to manipulate your students in thinking that this kind of behavior is okay, and it's not. You're ripping people off, and it's a scam, and you should be ashamed of yourself for what you're doing to people. And the problem is you're not going to see it that way. What you're going to see it as It's just some people having fun, enjoying the time that they have together as friends. Why don't you pick a different hobby, one that doesn't involve maybe their safety in the long run? The challenge is open. You're more than welcome to accept it. I will arrange whatever needs to be arranged and we will make it happen. But just understand that you and I both know pushing and moving people around with your mind doesn't work, and it will get people hurt. Thank you all for listening. Keep the martial arts legit.